Hey guys, we're back doing another play and explain. This time we're playing 200 Zoom. Decided to just do another one of these. Had like a pretty long 500 Zoom grind this morning, so just felt like, kind of taking it easy on stream today and just playing the 200 Zoom grind. With the nut draw here, we're going to bet. And with this combo, I'm just going to give up. I mean, I don't think we have tons of showdown, but we just have too many bluff candidates on this run out, so just going to give up. If you guys haven't watched one of my videos before, I do make these videos in part to promote the CFP that I run. So if you're looking to improve, if you're playing 50L, 100L, 200L, whatever it may be, and you want to improve your game, you want to move up, I strongly encourage you to apply to the CFP that I run. There's me and 3 other mid to high stakes head coaches, and we just take in students. And once the 4 of us, me and the 3 others, started working together, we quickly moved up from playing 50L and 100L to now playing 500L plus. So if you'd like to, if you're tired of playing the same stakes and you want to move up, applying the CFP is a good way to start. And I would encourage you to just go to my Twitter. Top of my Twitter, the application is pinned there. If not, I'll also post the application link at the bottom of this video. But now that that little plug is out of the way, we'll try and focus on the poker. So here we just block flop, turn to pair, check back, and then we bet river for value. And our opponent folded. Not going to be using like an RNG or anything today. Like, we're playing 2 tables at a stake that I don't play much here, but I should have a big enough edge that I don't need to use any RNG. It's kind of close here versus the min raise, but I think it's 2 weaker opponents. It's still not great. Like, this hand is going to be dominated, but for the min raise, I think it's still okay. We're going to 3-bet here with the 8s. And just probably just showing down this weak of a queen on this texture. We could go for a really small block here. Good board for us on the left. We're just going to bet range. And we do win. So that min raise defend was worth it, right? That's how you think about poker. If it worked out, then it was the right decision. Here we just 3-bet, bet flop. This hand's probably too strong to bluff with. We could obviously bluff some pairs, but it's actually somewhat cool. We should maybe consider bluffing this hand sometimes. Now in this run out, we lose 2 9s and 10s mainly. Obviously some Jack X will check back turn. I would block a lot of pairs. This one's a bit thin, I think, so we're going to check. We don't really get called by much worse. So, and yeah, like, we actually potentially make it worse for ourselves by betting that hand, because if our opponents don't value it thinly enough, they'll check back a bunch. This was a misclick. It's whatever. I don't know this opponent, but this hand is not. This hand is not open. But that's going to happen when you're streaming. You're going to just like open some hands you probably shouldn't. Just going to bet small this time with this hand. We have some middle pair, some good backdoors. This turn's like not going to be great for a lot of our range. I don't know this player. I'm going to check this time. And obviously the worst river. This is an ace. This is worse than an ace though, because now we even lose to 7x. And we don't even beat his 8x. So yeah, worst river. So we just check fold this one most likely. There you go. We chop with that one. Could consider obviously check raising our hand on the river. But our blockers aren't that relevant, because our opponent never really has a full house in that line. He's never going to check back in position with a hand that is a full house on the river, because he's in position when we check. Like, people don't really check back, even like bottom 2 pair there. Versus this size, we're just going to fold the king 8. Pretty good board for the upper end of our range. I'm going to start with just a half pot size here. We have a gutter, We have lots of the pairs that our opponent doesn't, and our opponent shouldn't really have many 2 pairs here. He does raise us, but really small. I mean, not really small. Small-ish. I'm going to defend with the nut gutter. And then obviously bluff on a bunch of runouts. He rather quickly bets big, so we will fold. Don't really need to wait on the Jack-6 off. I think we will be folding that one. Pocket 9's obviously going to be playing in some capacity. 3-bet. No decision. I was going to say, not great if we get 4-bet, but still good 3-bet. Bunch of weaker players at this table. I don't know the later position people. I'm going to make a loose open. The suited kings play pretty well. Hopefully there's no more. We've already misclicked, I guess, once, the 8-6 off, blind versus blind open. But I've had some misclicks to start this year that not so proud of. Some very costly misclicks so far. So we'll try and it's crazy how you can play poker for as long as I have and still do stuff like that. Good board for our range. Start with small bet. Similar board to the last one. I'm going to start with a half pot size here. Could even size up. I think 2/3 actually is better. I'm blocking all of the draws, as in like all the spades and stuff. It's not great having a 9, but it's nice to have a king. And when we big bet flop, going to check this hand on the turn and value bet river. Very interesting line from our opponent to call a big bet on flop and then just like check fold down. I mean, not check, obviously I just check fold river. Going to check. And gonna call here. I don't know this opponent. He doesn't fold much on the flop, so I think he can have bluffs here. I also like unblock, obviously, a lot of his both like floats and misdraws on this run out. Sometimes want to overbet this spot, so we'll use this as one of those. This just, especially if you think your opponents don't protect their check back range, this is obviously a good play. And then I'm gonna have like ace-5 with the ace of clubs, ace-7 with the ace of clubs. Those would be like my obvious like very big bluffs, and I think this one's also gonna, obviously this combo is gonna fit in the really big size, and we get snapped probably by something quite good, set or a weaker flush, or pocket aces no club. I think that hand requires some thinking on the river. Definitely not a snap. Benefit of his hand is he unblocks bluffs, because I don't bluff with either of these cards, obviously. Downside is he blocks no value. So basically he's assuming when he calls this hand that quickly that I'm over bluffing with my bare clubs. On this run, it's a pretty good one to be aggressive on. Obviously, when he checks back on this turn specifically, like very big bets from us are appropriate. Would probably just have 2 sizes on that turn. The size I took and then a smaller size. And then obviously we would sometimes put like flushes and even the nut flush in the smaller size. But I think this combo in particular is good for the big size. Good board for us. Obviously, he's going to have some like gut shots and stuff, but we actually block a lot of those. So he should just have a lot of just like 10-9 and stuff, Jack-10. So pretty good. You know, he should actually fold more when we have pocket fives in that spot than if we have, say, Jack-10 ourselves. Even though we'll block some like King X, we'll unblock all of his floats. Three bet here. And it's kind of a big 4-bet size for in position, so I'm going to fold. He doesn't really need to go this big in position, so when he takes the very large 4-bet size in position, I'm going to fold my like one of my weakest pairs. The alternative is like I can shove. So if I think he's bluffing too much, 4-betting, I could shove my hand. But I don't know enough about this, like the players in this pool, to make that adjustment. It's a bit old now, but also if you are watching this video and you don't follow me on Instagram, I did like the 12 tips of Riske, I called it, and it was basically just 12 tips for cash game players, various things that I think are really important to either think about or add to your routine. So check out my Instagram, and those are all in there. There's 12 free tips. We did a coaching giveaway associated with that. Gave away 4 free 1-hour coaching sessions with the head coaches of Poker with Riske coaching, and we'll be doing more of those in the future. So more reason to follow on both Instagram and Twitter. Free content, right? Who doesn't like free content, free giveaways? So we'll be doing more of that this year, so definitely make sure you're following on all platforms. They're all on the bottom of the screen, bottom right corner. Basically, if you just go to any social media and type in Poker with Riske, you'll find me. Not exactly the most common handle. Bit of just kind of straightforward-ish play so far, but we've had some interesting spots, like obviously this one down here, the ace-9. Now, it's nice when you have ace-9 of clubs and this guy calls aces, but when you have the old ace-7 with the ace of clubs, or ace-5 with the ace of clubs, or any of your other bluffs, and he snaps you with his hand, it's not so nice. I believe this guy's a recreational player. So against a recreational player, I'm just going to bet kind of just a middling size. I don't think this generates a ton of folds, but I also just have a hand that can't check call. And obviously I have equity to go with it. When he checks back quickly, calls turn. I actually think this hand's pretty good to bet twice with. Like, I'm definitely going to get called here sometimes, but I think I get like, you don't want to bluff all your flush draws, but this one makes sense to use. Well, I was going to 3-bet, but versus the 4x at this stack depth, it's kind of difficult to do much here, so I'm just going to fold. The opponent's playing kind of a loose range, but at that SPR, we just 3-bet and get jammed on too much, even from the more, wide opponents. So then our hand just kind of plays bad because it doesn't unblock any of his... it's actually like, if he's going to play too many hands that either fold or don't 4-bet, they're going to contain a 10 and a 9 a lot. So kind of bad blockers for that stack size. Blocking 10s and 9s is not really that relevant when your opponent's just kind of erratic. Another opponent I'm unfamiliar with, we're just going to start with a small bet here. Few recreational players. There's that guy in the small blind that we just saw, so maybe we can get away with this. Obviously it's a pip wider than I would normally open, and we can obviously be punished. So at this table, I'm not going to open it. Disciplined. We opened it on one, but not both. The exact same hand on both tables, but we only opened one of them. I think his range is so wide. Like, normally we can't just get away with this, but I think he's... Well, it confirms my suspicions that 3-betting the 10-9 suited might not have been the best play. So yeah, we're just going to fold. Three bet here with the king queen suited. We're on the lookout for that player. That I forget what his name was, but I'll know when I see it. Obviously, fold the jack 9 and defend the 10-9 suited. Unfortunately, he's not at this table. It's a good hand. The value of jacks goes up a lot when you have opponents like that. Obviously, not much betting from us on this turn, and when we do bet, we're going to use a pretty big size. We don't really get thin value bets on this turn. And check down. Could consider check raising because blocking flushes is kind of irrelevant in this line. But he will, like, the strongest hand he's going to have here is like a hand like queen 9, or if he's really protecting his check back range, a hand like queen 10. So then blocking 2 pair and queen 9 is kind of nice. But he just had 8s and had a check down spot, so. I'm also trying to do more of just uploading, say, like one-off hands from my sessions on Instagram. So yeah, if you like to see, say, 500 zoom and 1 KNL plus hand histories, excuse me, definitely tune into that. Our opponent... It's like he knows our hands, right? He shoved when we had the jack 8 suited. Now we have the 10-9 off, and he's just 4xing again. I mean, last time it was suited. And if I had 10-9 suited in that spot, I would have to try and find a way to play it against our friend. Playing 2 tables is quite calming when you're used to playing like 6 tables. I was playing too many for a while last year. I was playing like 6 to 8 when, you know, 2 to 4 of those were fast tables. It's a lot per hit per hour. Yeah, just took a small bet here. Our opponent obviously gets to check raise this flop if he thinks I have that range. I have a button opening range, so I have a lot of crap on this flop. But so does he. But yeah, so he does go for the small check raise. And we will obviously call. Turn, if he checks, we have a decision. We want to check back some ace-x on turn. This one has some merit. We will see what our opponent does. Very big size from him becomes somewhat suspicious, just having this card. I don't know if people in these games are finding the bluffs on this turn that don't contain a 5. So therefore having the 5 would be really bad. So yeah, I'm just going to check. I think it's like we're mainly going to bet here, but with a lot of our ace for the small size. Similar to ourselves, we could have a big size, but I think a lot of just small betting on turn. But this hand, just in case he's ever bluffing. I don't know if people actually check raise, check, and then bluff this river. And we'll just go for the... We're going to have like some thinnish value bets here. We're going to float flop with a lot of king X that are going to want a value bet here. So I'm going to go for this size, and he just snap folds. Kind of like, as I said, my suspicions were that, like, yeah, sure, you can check raise flop, but I don't know if people have the necessary, like, follow-up. It's not a natural spot to find the appropriate bluffs and stuff, so it might be just way too value heavy on turn. We're going to just defend the ace-5 off. We 3-bet this sometimes as well, but decided to call this time. Not great, but we're going to defend here. We have 3 to a straight and 3 to a flush and ace high. And there's the 3 to a straight. So now we call again most of the time. Actually, I'm going to use this as a bet. We haven't, like, I wouldn't bet a lot of ace-x, but I think this one's pretty good to use. And now we'll just showdown. We beat ace-4, ace-deuce, and he shouldn't really fold a pair on this run out. We don't win that often, but I also don't think like bluffing this hand is that, like, we have way better hands to choose from. And there you go. So we kind of value bluff the turn, and then we would have won most of the time on the river. I don't know if he was going for the super crazy check raise if we decided to bluff our hand on the river. Maybe that guy plays some heads up, because like queen 10 heads up there has some like showdown value. Obviously blind versus blind is somewhat similar, but yeah, like heads up, queen high has a bit of showdown there because a lot of my bluffs on turn should be worse than queen high. Not a board we get to just like get carried away with, so I'm gonna just check this hand. Flop 2 pair against an unknown from the small blind. So we're just gonna, I still think mainly small size on this flop. Pretty bad turn, obviously. And we're gonna check. And versus this size, I'm just gonna fold. We have so much ace-x here that we don't have to defend all of it. And the bigger he goes, the more we can fold. And yeah, bad run out. We beat 7-6 and his random 8x. I don't really see what we get value from. I would, obviously on this run, I'd be more likely to value bet any like overpair I check back, and you know, this hand just is a bit too thin. Could have maybe got called by that hand though. Could have also got bluff raise though. Unfortunately, I'm just gonna have to fold here. From like these against these positions, pocket nines is just gonna be a fold. Especially like not knowing anything. If I know like they're both crazy and way out of line, we could do something crazy ourselves. But we do not know those things. Get flatted from the cutoff, which is obviously not super common. And it's going to mean we have to check a lot, but not as much on this flop, especially if this player is actually just playing like way too wide. Turn we will check. And probably check call. And river is mainly a check. Could consider check raising this hand. But he just has the hand we kind of expect to see a decent amount. Again, we keep having a pair with ace-5, so I'm not gonna really bluff with pairs in those spots. 3-bet here with the king-queen suited. And would have defended a 4-bet. I'm gonna check this flop with this hand. We're gonna use like some bigger bets on this flop. This hand doesn't really need to fit in there. And then versus this size on this turn, we will fold. And like basically we have to make sure we check back some flush draws, some gut, like just check back a mix of everything, and then we're fine on that turn. So defend yourself on those turns by adjusting properly on the flop, not by getting to that turn and saying, well, I never have good hands here. If you ever say that, you're probably making a mistake elsewhere, and it's not, I mean, that's resulting in you making a mistake on that street as well. Is this our friend? Oh, it is our friend. So we know he shoved on us in the other spot. I don't have to go as big against him just because he's a bit shorter, but we will go to 15. Could have made that a notch smaller actually, because he made it so large and he is so short, but it doesn't really matter a ton. gonna 3-bet here. Not always. But we're not rolling today, so we'll just take the aggressive action. Two very loose opens. We'll say we're doing it for the stream. They both work, right? Again, if it works, it was the right play. It's a very toxic mindset. Most likely won't be playing the 10 deuce, but you know, these players will sometimes limp. So not snap checking back is worth at least a little bit. They'll sometimes min raise. Yeah, there we go. It's kind of nice when you say these things and then they just happen. This type of hand doesn't. I think I'm just going to raise just based on what I've seen from this opponent. This hand is absolute garbage, obviously, but I just think the way I've seen from what I've seen from my opponent so far leads me to believe even this crap hand might outperform in this line. Flop top pair, no kicker. I think I'm just going to bet. We obviously could check this hand, but I think it's fine to just bet. And we are going to 4-bet here with the jacks. And our opponent now check raises. It's very weird because he's basically wrapping like 10-7 and pocket 3s because I don't think he's going to like limp call 7s or 10s. Obviously that's among the worst turns. See what he sizes. Yeah, very good size from him. And we're going to fold this one. It's like our worst 10. We don't have to defend every 10 here. We have a lot of good hands ourselves. Going to get quite loose and try and play a pot against this player. Surprisingly, he folds. Was not really expecting that from what we've seen from him. But that's even better than him defending. Versus the min raise into this lineup, I'm going to make the peel of 5s here. And fold even to the small size of this hand. Obviously, we will be 4-betting if we get 3-bet here, which will happen relatively often. Start with a 1/3 on this board. Very good board for our range. And I think I'm just going to triple off with aces. Am I? I think with this combo on this turn, yes. We may check river. We may check river, but I think on this run I'm just going to go for bet, bet, bet. And we get called by a 10, I would assume. Yeah, 10 deuce of hearts. Three bet on the big size. We're going to defend. It's not a pure defend, but we rolled high, so we called. And we will. He can size up at this depth on this flop for sure. It's, you know, a bigger size actually would be quite good here. Yeah, so he goes for. Who knows? This could be his size at all depths, at all stack depths on this flop. And I think at this depth, I'm actually just going to fold the sevens. I would rather, like, this is basically, well, if we get here with sixes and fours, those are better. If we get there with bigger pairs, those are better. So that one makes sense to just fold flop once he sizes up. Going to be checking this board a lot. And our opponent goes for the block. I don't know this opponent. I'm going to sometimes raise, sometimes call. We've been taking the aggressive line in other spots, so we'll take the passive line here. Good turn for our range, so when he bets, he should bet like pretty big. And it's actually not great when we have this hand. Obviously, we're not going to fold turn, but you know, if he is bluffing, these are the easiest bluffs to find. Getting aces a lot. So yeah, he should be pretty polar to bet this turn. And he does bet pretty big, so we have a call, obviously. And river will be fun. Not the best river, because you know his bluff's in this good spot on the left. We get shoved down by deuces. All right. And he flops a deuce. So nice hand, sir. The old 4-bet rip with deuces gets rewarded. And here we just have like a gross spot. I actually think I can just find a fold here, as dumb as this may sound. Like, I don't know anything about this opponent, but he basically has to just be running it with like pocket eights with a club. I don't even know if people do that a ton in these games. So against like an opponent I know is good, I would never fold here. I don't know this opponent though. Just seems like kind of difficult. How do we fold this hand though? It's like he can obviously shove every flush. So he has like 8-9 of clubs, king jack of clubs, king queen of clubs, queen jack of clubs, jack 9 of clubs. He has like a lot of combos. Obviously, like this hand again is normally a call here. I'm gonna value bet on the left if he checks again. Yeah, this is a dumb spot. I think I'm gonna make a really tight hero fold though. Not one that I'm proud of. And there's a lot of people who I would never make that fold against. Like if I'm playing 500 Zoom against most of like the good regs, I would obviously never fold there because they will find the appropriate bluffs. But it is a spot where he literally never, on that run out, he never has a worse hand for value, right? So literally everything that gets that river that isn't a flush or a set is just a pure bluff catcher. So we'll have a set of kings in that spot. We'll have some other sets. We'll have flushes ourselves, and then we have that hand. And that hand's like mainly supposed to call. But it's because our opponent's not actually supposed to have that many. In that spot, he doesn't really have that many ace-x bluffs. Because pre-flop, he only really has like ace-queen off and then maybe ace-jack off. So it's not an easy spot to find enough bluffs. But it is easy to always shove your good hands. Versus that size, I'm going to defend the jack ace suited. It's pretty meh, but blind versus blind, I think it's fine. Do want to do some like low equity stabs. This hand's pretty close, but I think we still want to check a decent amount here. And then, so I'm going to check twice with some hands. I'm also just going to river a queen and actually want to value bet my queen X, especially if I have like ace queen, because like I don't just want to check everything here. So I'm just going to go for a small bet here. And it works out. So could have been a very nice little session for us if the 4-bet rib with deuces didn't just smash the flop. But, it's the way she goes sometimes. And I 3-bet here. This is like a mixed spot, being a video. It's like, it's kind of funny if people knew exactly when I was making a video, my frequency might just be a bit too high because this is just like, we're not rolling, so we'll just go with the aggressive action. But I think actually we'll just call it there. Again, we'll be making more of these in the future, so definitely make sure if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure to do so. Also, all my other social media you'll see in the bottom corner, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We'll be doing more of this content. And again, if you're looking to get better at poker, strongly encourage you to fill out that application. That's on my Twitter. Will also be underneath this video. Doesn't take very long, like 5 minutes tops, and could change your poker career for the much better. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.